Are you wanting high-speed internet but don't have access to PUD fiber? Try Sky-Fi high-speed wireless internet from LocalTel. Call 888-8888 today. It's time for NCW Life News on the NCW Life channel. The latest from the Wenatchee Valley and North Central Washington with Steve Hare, Grant Olson, and sports with Eric Granstrom.
Good evening and welcome to NCW Life News. I'm Grant Olson. Before we get to today's top stories, let's take a quick look outside our weather window. And as we all experience today, a little bit of haze and a little bit of smoke out there as we take a look at beautiful Lake Chelan from our Manson camera. But we did see haze out there and smoke. But this time, the smoke not coming from British Columbia fires, but rather from fires down in Oregon, especially the western part of Oregon. Here's a time lapse of how the smoke moved in on us today. And as you can see, throughout our afternoon and even tonight and once again in the overnight, we can expect a little bit of that haze sticking around the Wenatchee area. But by the time Wednesday morning rolls around, you can see on that map we should be cleared out from the smoke. And remember, they are coming from fires in Oregon this time. And now a few of the stories we're following for you tonight. A motorcycle accident claims the life of a Cooley City man. Wenatchee Valley College ranks as one of the top 25 community colleges in the nation. And Eastmont School Board receives input on requests for a name change at Robert E. Lee Elementary. Later on, we'll have sports, your weather forecast, and our feature story today. But first, Chelan County marijuana growers are threatening a lawsuit after commissioners voted to adopt new zoning regulations. The board took final action on the new rules earlier today in Wenatchee. Steve Hare filed this report.
So at this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution 2017-75.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve resolution 2017-75.
Well, the future of Chelan County's marijuana industry is now set into law as the Chelan County Commissioners unanimously voted on a new set of zoning rules that will, from here on, dictate how and where marijuana will be grown in Chelan County. Of course, the Commissioners, in taking their action, made a unanimous decision, and here's what they had to say after that motion was made.
This has not been an easy task. This has been something that in my lifetime I haven't seen anything as separating of a community as what this particular topic was, where you actually have neighbor against neighbor, and that to me is very unfortunate. It's unfortunate that we had to get to a point where these regulations had to be put into place or to conduct the businesses and to make sure that the quality of life in Chelan County is maintained.
Commissioners have taken their action, and now the industry is considering its options at this point. Caitlin Ryan with the Central Washington Growers Association joining us right now outside the courthouse. So where do you go from here, Caitlin?
Our only choice right now is into litigation. As the code is written, it's pretty wonky. There are bizarre exceptions in lots of various different places. It's clear they wrote it to make sure they shut down as many farms as they possibly could. That'll make it easy for us in court, but that's pretty much where we're at this point.
So would you be seeking then an injunction from the court to stall at least the enforcement?
Absolutely, yeah. That's going to be our first step is a stay of execution. Well, that's not the right word, but stopping any enforcement that's happening, and then we'll go from there.
In retrospect, is there anything the industry could have done? Is there anything the growers or processors could have done to avoid what happened here?
I don't know, because the county, like we have talked about again and again, when we first came, they welcomed us with open arms. They said, please come in and grow. We will treat you as all other agriculture. Everybody followed all of the rules as they were set forth, and I really feel like we were pretty pristine in our action here, which is what makes these kinds of decisions so egregious.
So obviously the action has been taken. It was a unanimous vote by the Board of Commissioners to adopt this new resolution that will obviously find its final conclusion in a court of law. Steve Hare, NCW Life.
We can share the details today of a fatal motorcycle crash that we told you about yesterday on State Route 17. That was between Soap Lake and Cooley City. The accident happened at milepost 89 near the Sun Lakes rest area. A state patrol report identified the victim as 78-year-old Benjamin Coates of Cooley City. Troopers say Coates was killed after he lost control of his bike and crashed into a rock wall after attempting to pass 3 cars in a no-pass zone. A bicycle rider was injured yesterday after colliding with a big rig near the Highway 2 and 97 Blewett Pass intersection south of Kashmir. Troopers say 69-year-old Herman Rayleigh of Peshastin was transported to Central Washington Hospital after his bike struck the passenger side of a Peterbilt truck driven by 38-year-old Flint Hartwig of Wenatchee. The cause of that crash is under investigation. A recent survey compiled by the website Wallet Hub ranks Wenatchee Valley College as one of the top 25 community colleges in the nation. The rankings are based upon categories such as the cost of in-state tuition and fees to student-faculty ratio to graduation rate. The survey ranks 728 community colleges across the country. Libby Siebens, Executive Director of Community Relations at Wenatchee Valley College, says another important indicator in the Wallet Hub survey is the probability of finding employment after college.
I think one of the differences in this ranking system is that it actually ranks career outcomes, so the number of students that are employed after college or that go into and start working in their fields. That's not a typical indicator of traditional university and college rankings. And so it's nice to see because community colleges really focus on that aspect for half of what they do.
The top-ranked community college in the survey is Leech Lake Tribal College in Minnesota, while the lowest-ranked school on the list is Killian Community College in South Dakota. Also of note, Wallet Hub also conducted a survey of the best and worst state community college systems, and Washington came in at number 3. Coming up, Eastmont School Board receives input on requests for a name change at Robert E. Lee Elementary. Chelan PUD commissioners approve purchase of a parcel of land for a new substation, and the 10th annual State Finals Pattern Speed Horse Competition was held over the weekend at Appalachia. I'm Grant Olson, and you're watching NCW Life News.
I gotta tell you, I'm nervous.
Selling your home, it's a big step.
Can we find the right buyer in this market?
Look at our website. When someone looks at your home, I can tell how ready they are to buy. See that number? The closer it is to 100, the closer they are to buying. So, I know who to zero in on.
So you have a secret weapon.
You mean, we have a secret weapon.
I like that. Oh, what do you think of the wallpaper?
I love that touch.
No matter what your age or ailment, when you wake up each day with a sense of purpose, life has meaning and joy.
Just wait a while, it'll get in the hole somewhere.
Helping you do this is our purpose. Highgate Senior Living, each day to the fullest.
The best thing about my life right now is
Me.
Welcome back. A larger than usual turnout was on hand at Eastmont School Board meeting last night to speak out about a possible name change for Robert E. Lee Elementary School. Sue Ellen Harris is a former history teacher in the Eastmont School District who spoke in favor of changing the name.
But I have a suggestion. As the school year begins, I propose a change intended not to erase history, because I'm a historian and devoted to it, but rather to enhance it. When in, I hope, the very near future, Robert E. Lee Elementary is remodeled. That's what I keep hearing people say, that it's going to be remodeled. I propose selecting a new name. I encourage charging the students of the district, or at least those at Lee, with researching and finding a new name more in keeping with the joy of discovery, the power of citizen advocacy, or the creativity of the human spirit.
Harris suggested Clyde Pangborn, Wilfred Woods, Don Moose, or Fred Rogers Elementary as possible new names for what is now Robert E. Lee Elementary School. Former Chelan County Superior Court Judge Carol Wardell spoke in favor of changing the school's name because of what the name Robert E. Lee represents.
I understand from recent readings that the name Robert E. Lee for the school was named in 1955. The timing of that naming is not benign. That's when the civil rights movement was getting started. 1954, Brown versus Board of Education required integration of the schools. 1955, the same year Robert E. Lee's school was named that, is the same year that Rosa Parks refused to give her seat to a white man. Historians have documented that, in fact, many Confederate monuments and names were constructed during the 1950s for one reason: intimidation.
Wardell suggested former Chelan County Sheriff's Deputy Saul Gallegos' name be used to rename the school. Chuck Holland has had 2 of his 3 children graduate through the Eastmont School District, and he's a Wenatchee High School graduate. He used sarcasm to make his point against changing the school's name.
For me, I don't think it's going far enough to change the name. You know, I think we better start changing Grant School. We better start changing Lincoln School in Wenatchee, Pioneer Middle School. I mean, we all know that the pioneers stole the land from the Native Americans, so we better change that name too, because that's offensive. And then we better look to our fellow countymen over there in Grant County and urge them to change the name of their county, because it's Grant County. And then we have Lincoln County and Lincoln Memorial. You know, where's it going to stop? It's totally ridiculous. It is part of history. It's 150 some years ago. It's part of history. There's no reason to change the name. I mean, Garn Christensen, who's going to want to vote him out because he has Christian in his name? I mean, you see how ridiculous this is? It's just a name. I think it's time to get over it and move on. And as I think Nancy Reagan used to say, just say no.
Dave Haven is the pastor for Celebration Lutheran Church in East Wenatchee, and he believes the name should be changed.
We are a community, hopefully, that is growing in diversity, and yet there's a large population here of Latino folks especially, who still feel that heaviness of prejudice, which just gives us a little bit of indication of what African Americans feel too and have felt. So I think I would just request that the board take this up, that you consider changing the name. I know it's going to be controversial, but I think it's the right thing to do, and I believe this is the time. This is not a reaction, this is a response.
Eastmont School Board President Annette Eggers thanked those in attendance for their sentiments and that each would be considered as the district moves forward, but she did not say if the board would go forward with the name change for Robert E. Lee Elementary School. With the help of Stamilt growers, the Chelan County Commissioners yesterday unanimously approved the purchase of a 1-acre piece of land in Wenatchee's Old Station Industrial Park for a new substation. The new substation, tentatively called OMI, will replace the aging substation at Old Station that was built back in 1979. Stamilt is expanding its operations in Old Station and already had level property available for the PUD to purchase. Dan Fraser, PUD Facilities Director, says that thanks to cooperation with Stamilt, this land purchase was possible.
Thank you, Martin, for all the work that you did. He bridged the gap between Stamilt and Chelan PUD, understanding exactly property lines, grades, who was going to do what, estimating the values of various things that were being exchanged. So thank you, Martin.
As a consideration of the land purchase, the PUD district would reserve for Stamilt a certain amount of substation capacity to serve Stamilt's projected increase in demand at that location. The current substation is at 90% capacity with aging equipment and not enough room to increase power capacity. Once an agreement is finalized, the next steps are to apply for permits this fall, design the facility, and start building sometime in 2018 or 2019. Riders from 4 years old to 74 took part in the 10th Annual State Finals Pattern Speed Horse Association competition over the weekend at the Appalachie Riders Arena in Wenatchee. The 3-day competition kicked off on Friday with 4 events. Saturday featured 7 timed races, and on Sunday 5 more races completed the competition. The horse races had riders who have been competing for over 60 years, including a family of 3 generations involved in the event. The pattern speed horse races have been held since the early 1960s, and all but 3 of them have been in Wenatchee. The organization began as the Washington State Horsemen, and 10 years ago was restructured as the Pattern Speed Horse Association. Of note from the competition, rider Lindsay Sogi set a new state record time in the intermediate flags competition, a record that has stood since 1992. The next PSHA event at Appalachia is this Saturday beginning at 10 a.m. and features barrels, figure eight, key race, and rescue race. You're watching NCW Life News. Coming up next, your sports update, followed by today's feature story. That and much more still to come on NCW Life News. Stay with us.
Every golfer aims to play their best, and smart golfers turn to the Golfer's Edge to get the Golfer's Edge. PGA professional Ed Payne has you covered from tee to green. You can work on your swing or play 18 in air-conditioned comfort on the golf simulator. Tanya's Corner has all the apparel the golfer needs at sale prices. And Ed can even rebuild your favorite set of clubs or custom make you a brand new set. Ask how you can qualify for a free 30-minute lesson at the Golfer's Edge on Mission between Kittitas and Yakima.
At Doghouse Motorsports, we ride what we sell. There's a lot we could say about the CD Spark and the CD GTI, but ultimately, the ride says it all.
And now it's a sports update on the NCW Life channel.
And a happy Tuesday. We begin our week of sports tonight on the NCW Life channel with some high school girls soccer. It's Wenatchee and Moses Lake from last November 4th. Hockey night on Thursday features the Wenatchee Wild and Chilliwack from last December. Friday we've got Eastmont and Mount Spokane football from last September. Saturday it's Wenatchee Chelan volleyball at 2 o'clock, followed by Wenatchee and Mount Boucherie in football at 7. The Wenatchee Valley Sportsmen's Association is hosting the North Central Washington Youth Hunting and Fishing Days, Saturday, September 16th at the NCW Gun Club. It's free for the kids, and we'll introduce them to the outdoors with hunting and fishing demonstrations. They'll learn about wildlife and conservation, firearm safety, and actually learn how to shoot a bow and arrow and a gun. There's a free lunch, door prizes, drawstring backpack for everybody who attends. It's at the NCW Gun Club in East Wenatchee. It runs from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. on that day, Saturday, September 16th. I'll be your MC, so bring the kids up for some outdoor adventures. It was a match of speed versus power. Earlier today at Wenatchee Valley College in the Van Tassel Center, his number 1 ranked Tucker Wagner took on the upstart 398th ranked Uriah Darby in table tennis. The so-called Battle of the Paddle Part 1 went to Wagner in a hard-fought match, 21-14, 15, and 17. Following the match, Darby accused Wagner of corking his paddle, while Wagner said Darby's was unusually heavy, as if it were full of lead. The two NCW Life employees are already planning a rematch at the Battle of the Paddle Part 2. Well, you want to know why I like Mike Zunino, catcher for the Seattle Mariners? Take a look at this. Yeah, just before the Atlanta game today with the Braves in Atlanta, he's playing catch with a Mariner fan, kid in the stands. Kid's got a good arm, too. Now, in the game yesterday, Yonder Alonso brought brought home, there you go, 3 runs on 2 doubles, and Seattle Mariners topped the Atlanta Braves 6-5. Alonso's first double came at the top of the 4th to break a 2-2 tie and score Leonis Martin and Gene Segura. His second in the 6th scored Martin with what proved to be the winning run. Andrew Albers won his second straight start in a Mariner uniform, going 5 innings, allowing 4 runs, 6 hits. He also contributed at the plate with an RBI infield single. Manager Scott Service said his club was actually lucky to win, considering 4 errors.
Given us 5 innings and did it all. Got his first major league hit, RBI, a couple sack bunts down. Played the game like a little leaguer, tonight in the National League. So did a really good job. Get us to the 6th inning. Obviously, we hung on tonight. We did not play a very good game defensively. With the errors, throwing the wrong base, it was sloppy. But Vincent and Eddie and Zepp really picked us up and got some huge outs for us. So, got enough done offensively. Of course, Alonso, big night by him at first base. The big double down the corner, scoring 2 runs, and he was on everything all night. So, need to continue to hit to win on the road, but we got to play better defense. And it was sloppy tonight, and fortunately, our pitching stepped up and got us over the hump.
4 relievers combined to allow 1 run on 6 hits. Edwin Diaz picked up his 28th save. Seattle and Atlanta playing again tonight. Marco Gonzalez facing Lucas Sims. Also in the American League wildcard race yesterday, Minnesota split a pair with Chicago. It was Texas downing the Angels, so the Mariners get a little help there as the Twins are hanging on to that second playoff spot right now. The Angels a half game back. Seattle 1 game back heading into tonight. That's a look at sports news. I'm Eric Grandstrom on the NCW Life Channel. Grant, back to you.
Thank you, Eric. The City of Wenatchee and the Wenatchee Downtown Association are working to create a safe pathway for bike riders in the downtown area. Linda Haglund from the Wenatchee Downtown Association stopped by Wake Up Wenatchee Valley with Dan Coons to talk more about the project.
So one of the things we hear complained about our downtown is that it really isn't considered bike friendly, right? Because we don't have bike lanes. And it is illegal to ride your bike on the sidewalk in our downtown. So how do we get people from the neighborhoods to the trail? And First Street is that natural corridor that comes right over, goes right over the bridge. And I applaud the city for looking for ways to fund that, different options. And then that demonstration project gave everybody really kind of a good look at what that might look like. A lot of positive comments that night. And it's exciting. What I love is that we have a city that really isn't just business as usual. Kind of out of the box. What's next? What's growing? You've been seeing that lately and looking at growth and how we grow better. And it's always fun to see one of these projects because that's another example of, okay, what are we missing? What do we need? And I think we need that. We need that safe access from the neighborhoods to the trail.
Because the trail is very well used, and having been, I go to the Walla Walla, I go to the Apple Capital Recreational Loop Trail all the time, and what I've been noticing is when the bicyclists are done with their little exercise or just their socializing, they have a tendency to go over the bridge and then head downtown and have some coffee or get a bite to eat at Lamolo or Stone's or someplace like that.
Absolutely. So how do we make that a better transition? And I like this. I like this option because in that night you could just see how, you know, having that barrier right there, it was that safe access right onto the trail. And I have to say, every time I step on that trail, I always look up and say, thank you, God, for Gordon Congdon and Bob Parlett. You know, think of what this community would be without that trail. It's pretty cool.
We'll be back in just a moment with a recap of some of today's stories and your complete local weather forecast right after this.
Wenatchee Valley College is now offering 4-year degrees. The need for engineering technologists is rapidly growing, and the new Bachelor of Applied Science in Engineering Technology is designed to meet the needs of local employers. Students with an associate degree can complete the program in only 2 or 3 years. Don't wait! The program is accepting just 20 students for fall quarter. Apply now at wvc.edu/engineeringtech.
And now for a recap of our top story. Chelan County marijuana growers are threatening a lawsuit after commissioners voted to adopt new zoning regulations. The board took final action on the new rules earlier today in Wenatchee. Steve Hare filed this report.
So at this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution 2017-75.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve resolution 2017-75.
Well, the future of Chelan County's marijuana industry is now set into law as the Chelan County Commissioners unanimously voted on a new set of zoning rules that will, from here on, dictate how and where marijuana will be grown in Chelan County. Of course, the commissioners, in taking their action, made a unanimous decision, and here's what they had to say after that motion was made.
This has not been an easy task. This has been something that in my lifetime I haven't seen anything as separating of a community as what this particular topic was, where you actually have neighbor against neighbor, and that to me is very unfortunate. It's unfortunate that we had to get to a point where these regulations had to be put into place or to conduct the businesses and to make sure that the quality of life in Chelan County is maintained.
The commissioners have taken their action, and now the industry is considering its options at this point. Caitlin Ryan with the Central Washington Growers Association joining us right now outside the courthouse. So where do you go from here, Caitlin?
Our only choice right now is into litigation. As the code is written, it's pretty wonky. There are bizarre exceptions in lots of various different places. It's clear they wrote it to make sure they shut down as many farms as they possibly could. That'll make it easy for us in court, but that's pretty much where we're at this point.
So would you be seeking then an injunction from the court to stall at least the enforcement?
Absolutely, yeah. That's going to be our first step is a stay of execution. Well, that's not the right word, but stopping any enforcement that's happening, and then we'll go from there.
In retrospect, is there anything the industry could have done? Is there anything the growers or processors could have done to avoid what happened here?
I don't know, because the county, like we have talked about again and again, when we first came, they welcomed us with open arms. They said, please come in and grow. We will treat you as all other agriculture. Everybody followed all of the rules as they were set forth, and I really feel like we were pretty pristine in our action here, which is what makes these kinds of decisions so egregious.
So obviously the action has been taken. It was a unanimous vote by the Board of Commissioners to adopt this new resolution that will obviously find its final conclusion in a court of law. Steve Hare, NCW Life.
And now your weather forecast for north central Washington. But before we get to that, let's take another beautiful look outside our weather window at Lake Chelan from our Manson camera. And you can see just behind the hills there a little bit of haze and a little bit of smoke. That did move in on us from Oregon this morning. It should move out of our area by early tomorrow morning, and we will see a cool down as we take a look at our forecast. Tonight, we will be mild once again with lows at around 67 degrees. And then tomorrow, windy conditions. In fact, winds around the 20 to 25 mile an hour range throughout the day tomorrow, slightly cooler. Then a big cold front will move through on Thursday. We'll see a little bit of wind early, but then cooler temperatures. 83 our high Thursday, 86 for your Friday, and then high pressure moves back in just in time for the weekend. Sunshine on Saturday, Sunday, and even into Monday, with highs then in the lower to mid 90s. And by the middle of next week, we may be talking about temperatures near 100. More on that in your weather forecast during tomorrow's newscast. And that will do it for our newscast tonight. For more on these stories and other news from around north central Washington, you can find us on Facebook or our website at ncwlife.com. And remember, if you see news happening, we'd like to hear from you. You can send us an email at news@ncwlife.com or give us a call at 888-NCWL. That's 888-6295. I'm Grant Olson. Thanks for joining us and have a great night.
This has been NCW Life News on the NCW Life channel. For more news, log on to ncwlife.com. Like us on Facebook and follow NCW Life channel on Twitter.
Reed's Marine in Manson has your boating needs covered, offering the superior Regal lineup with options from 19 to 53 feet. With the Regal Express line, you have the freedom to explore with an innovative interior and the largest headroom in its class. Don't forget the roomy cockpit with seating to fit the whole family. From 26 to 32 feet, Reed's Marine has the Regal Express to fit your needs. View our current inventory at chelanboat.com or stop by our Manson showroom on beautiful Lake Chelan and see the entire Regal line.
You know, I nail it, but that's not quite good enough. All right, the full-size SUV redesigned this year. Wow. The brand new Nissan Titan, the truck everybody's talking about. And as long as we've got that, let's start over. 2017 Nissan, the best-selling SUV in America. I freaking had it. Come down and see us at Town Nissan behind Costco in East Wenatchee.